Well, the haters gonna hate, 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 and the fakers gonna fake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna make, making luck, a Dominion podcast. Welcome to Making Luck, a Dominion podcast.
A Dominion podcast.
It's been too long. Hi, I'm Adam, and that was Wandering Winder. And if you're a video listener, you've seen, but you haven't heard yet, we are joined by a third co-host today. This is Danica. Hi, Danica. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
That's very good to hear. You weren't bribed that I know of.
No, genuinely was not bribed to be here. I'm choosing to do this.
Check it out. Look at that.
We'll give you the extra for saying you weren't bribed later.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to have to edit that out. So, Danica is a Dominion friend of mine. We only know each other because of Dominion, and we don't really play that much Dominion anymore because I don't really play that much Dominion anymore. And I have a feeling I'm responsible for maybe you not playing as much Dominion anymore.
No. I have free will.
Right. Thank you for saying that. I don't know if I believe, but in any case, we're all Dominion friends here, and we're on this Dominion podcast, and we're going to talk about something, but I forgot what it was. Anyway, there was some new stuff in Dominion, and it's been like a year, a little more than a year, since there was new Dominion stuff, and that's why it's been a little more than a year since there's been any content on this podcast. Sorry.
Not that the rule is only podcasts doing new stuff, but, well.
That seems to be what we're doing these days. And, man, BGA is so much cheaper than Shuffle It. And it has Arc Nova on it. I've been playing a lot of that. So my other channel, #link in the description, I've actually been uploading games of Arc Nova. And but the app, the Temple Gates Games app, has been officially released. It's actually good. I've been playing a little bit of it. Very exciting. But in any case, that's what I've been up to. Also, other things that I don't really want to get into on the podcast, but I just got out of the hospital. Good times. How's life been for you, Wandering Winder? Have you been playing a lot of Dominion?
No, but you know what I was going to say to start? If you wouldn't have started, I was going to say, welcome to Making Luck, a Wingspan podcast.
Wandering Winder was a bro and was playing tons of Wingspan with me while I was in the hospital. And Danica was a bro and actually playing, what were we playing in the hospital?
We were playing Dominion. We were getting ready.
Overachieving. I have now played at least one game with every single one of these cards that we're about to talk about.
I have played exactly 0 games with every single one of these cards that we're about to talk about.
Yeah, so this is early March, what is it, 4th? 2024. The Guilds and Cornucopia second editions have been released. A little earlier than intended because I don't think you can get a physical copy of it yet, but they're online. There was an unintentional leak, and so we've had minimal time to prepare. I have access to play testing stuff, but I have not looked at it because...
life?
General incompetence, yeah, what you said.
Oh.
I mean, that was the nice way of saying it. And look, I have fantastic excuses, but those aren't important. So I'm authorized to give my screaming hot takes, and that's what you're going to get here on Making Luck, a Dominion podcast. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Okay, great. Let's talk about the first card. The first card is Carnival. I'll read this one. Carnival is a 5-cost action. It says reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, put one of each differently named card into your hand, and discard the rest. And this one is a direct replacement of Harvest, which basically did the same thing, only instead of drawing you cards, or putting the cards in your hand, you got a money for each differently named card revealed. This is better than Harvest, yeah?
I like it better, yeah.
I both like it better and think it's stronger. Whichever way you meant that, I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Both of them.
yeah. I still don't think it's particularly good, but
Yeah.
like better than Harvest is a pretty low bar.
Yeah, I gave this a 5 out of 10.
What did I give this?
Is this now when we share our ratings? Because I'm
If you
doing
would
mine
like
again.
to.
Okay, before I give my rating, let me ask this. How
The
likely
ratings,
are y'all to go for Carnival if there's not a village in the game?
very unlikely.
I would say that about a lot of smithies.
Yeah.
This one less likely than normal, because if I'm playing smithy money density, this is worse.
It also like
Carnival money
costs.
density.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
that
probably
would
just
be-
draws less cards.
Like, how much money is this? You got to look at 4 cards, and you're hoping to hit 2 treasures.
Yeah, that's sad.
I guess 3 treasures if you're super lucky.
That's never going to happen.
It will happen one time, Adam.
I know that, but
It won't happen because I'm not going to play this. What is this card called? Carnival? I'm not
oh,
going to be playing Carnival money ever, so it won't happen.
I also intend to not do that. Also, I want to talk about something. I guess I have something against cards being named Carnival, because if you ever played Spyfall,
No.
okay, well, there's a problem with the Carnival card in Spyfall, and I've removed
Okay.
it. And maybe I'm not going to be... Actually, I played a couple games with this card, and I'm willing to consider giving this a 6 out of 10. It has exceeded my expectations so far.
Yeah.
It has been consistently drawing 3 and sometimes 4. And give me Smithy all day for 5, man. Smithy for 5 is probably like a 6 out of 10. So
let me ask you this. Did we interrupt Danica when she was in the middle of her explanation and she asked us
No, I asked a question
if there
and
wasn't a
y'all answered.
village? And then, like, instead of answering the question and letting her continue, we've just, like, had a whole conversation without her?
welcome
Is
to
that
the
something
podcast,
that...
Danica.
No,
Insert
I think
yourself
you both-
edgewise.
No, I appreciate that. No, I think you both properly answered my question. I understand the answer is no, you probably wouldn't go for this without a village. That's what I was thinking, but I wanted to make sure that there wasn't some out of the box, like, other way it could be useful that I wasn't thinking of. Yeah, so since we all agree that I don't find use for it outside of there being a good village to pair it with, I still like it. I like, this is a theme for me with cards, like the unexpected, like the fact that you're drawing and you're not sure what you're going to get. Well, with y'all, you might know what you're going to get because you probably track what's in your deck better than I do. Maybe Adam always knows what he's going to get.
Adam's nodding. You can't see, but I'm shaking my head.
Shaking, nodding,
No, side
yes.
to side.
Shaking
Side to
no.
side. That's a
Side to side, no.
cultural no from where I am from, which is, the United States. Cultural
Okay.
no.
Okay, that surprises me. But yeah, I'm not one to typically track what's all in my deck. I'm kind of like surprised every time I draw. So I like the element of surprise here. I think it's fun to play with if you have a village. I would probably, I'll say 7.
All right.
Okay.
Wondering
So if I were being super, like, competitive, I would probably track some, but just, like, I can't be bothered.
Well, I addressed this on my tutorial video. I don't track absolutely everything, but I
Yeah.
track the good cards. And
yeah.
and
So I don't really think I disagree with anything you guys are saying, and yet I also gave it a 4, which is because this is how number ratings are super useful.
right.
Very well calibrated. I guess the thing for me is it's probably pretty good if you're playing a deck that's playing a bunch of action cards and you have some villages, and, like, a lot of times those decks you get a bunch of different cards, so it's going to draw 3 and sometimes 4 and occasionally 2, and you'll be super sad because you'll be like, what happened? I thought, and then Adam will say Yimyosel, and
Right. I'm reminded of Hunter. When Hunter was first revealed, it was like day 1 of previews. So, like, every game had Hunter in it. And the internet was abuzz with all of this, oh my god, Hunter is +3 cards, +1 action. It's that all the time. This is great. And I play Hunter, and my first Hunter reveals 3 treasures, and my second Hunter reveals 3 Hunters. And That's what I thought would happen with Carnival. And I thought I would just be drawing 2 cards with this every stinking time. And that hasn't been really the case so much. Like, it's been consistently 3. It's
Yeah.
very rare that it only draws 2. And if this draws me at least 3 cards, I am very happy. And I believe it discards the other ones. So, like, you're not going to get to a place where, like, I reveal 4 of the same thing and Carnival is my only draw, and then I play another Carnival and, well, I'm probably just getting 1, maybe 2 more cards. Like, if I reveal 2 provinces, the other one gets... I think it's much better than top decking it, not only for power level, but also because I don't want to frickin' top deck those cards. That is way too much thinking and clicking.
Adam, what
Pass.
if you reveal 4 tunnels?
That sounds pretty lit.
Yes.
Thanks for that.
And so, I guess the thing for me is, yeah, if you draw 3, it's fine to good, and I probably just rated a little bit lower because just like there's a lot of smithies. I don't think this is like a lot better than the other 5-cost smithies. This is probably on the lower end of the 5-cost smithies, so it's like it's not that it's bad; it just seems replaceable.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the effect of like a catacombs
Yeah.
or a journeyman or even a patrol most of the time to something like this. Like the guaranteed 3 cards and then the additional little bonus. Like those that I definitely put higher than this. Maybe like 1 rating out of 10 point higher.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
this is still Smithy for 5, and I mean I'd probably give that like a 6 out of 10. So yeah. Does anyone have
Cool.
anything else to say about Carnival before we move on?
No.
Oh,
I don't know what this weird person with the mask behind this lady who's dancing with the other guy is doing, but
I mean, I could talk about Spyfall. We could get into that.
Oh, yeah. Finish your thought, Adam.
I shouldn't. It's not really relevant or funny.
Spyfall just makes me think of a 2-part episode of Doctor Who that I haven't seen.
Yeah, me too. I was just gonna say the same thing. Harvest, I think, was at the top of everyone's list of cards that we knew were gonna get cut. So no one's gonna miss that card. The end. Okay. Next is Shop. Danica, would you like to read Shop to us?
Yes, Shop is +1 card, +1 money. How do you say that part?
That is acceptable.
Coin, money. I usually
Yeah,
say money.
acceptable.
I think the technical
Money,
term
yeah.
is coin, but whatever.
Peso.
All right, coin, yes. +1 card, +1 coin. You may play an action card from your hand that you don't have a copy of in play.
Sweet. And it costs 3.
And it costs 3, yes.
And it's an action.
Yes.
Sick. I gave Shop a 5 out of 10.
Why?
Because I don't think it's very good. And I don't know. I consider giving it a 4. I think this is a low 5. It's a peddler, right? If it works, gives you a
Right.
card, an action, and then you get to get it $1. Like that's if it works. The problem is you can't get a ton of these, and that's when peddler was good. So you can only get like maybe 1 or 2 of these and have it consistently give you that action. And that's rough, man. I want 10 of these. I don't want 2 of these.
Well, I thought you just said that you don't want 10 of these because then they don't work very well.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to... It doesn't
Wants
work
to be
that
able
way.
to go for 10, yeah.
I want 10 peddlers in my deck. That makes my
Well,
deck way better.
Yeah, I also want 10 peddlers in my deck. I don't think this card is as good as peddler. Especially because peddler can be free, or it can cost 8 when you're salvaging it.
Those are also very nice things. Like peddler for 3 would be, I don't know,
Bueno.
7, 8 out of 10. It would be fantastic.
I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it would be great. And this is not that because I can't put a ton of them in my deck.
I might give it a 9 out of 10, honestly.
Perhaps.
I might give it a 10, probably not a 10.
I would not
probably
give it a 10
9.
out of 10. I don't think I could get to 9. But that's not a card that exists.
That's true.
Danica, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess I don't feel really strongly about it. I like that it's a sneaky village, but...
Whoa.
Is it a
Adam's going to
village?
get on his village soapbox here.
I do
No,
not
wait,
believe...
no, please correct me. Please correct me if that's not the case.
I don't believe that using this card can let you play multiple terminals in a turn.
Okay, yeah, we can... I was going to ask you more questions, but we don't need to bore everyone with
So
getting me caught up.
perhaps I think there are cards that are sometimes non-terminal, like cultist or vassal or something.
Yeah.
And some people say, "Oh, these cards don't have +1 action, but I can play more than one of them in turn."
Yeah.
That fits your definition of a village, and
Doesn't fit
the definition of a terminal action, though. A terminal action is a results-based definition. So an action is terminal if, when you are done resolving that action, you had less actions than what you started with. That means a terminal action. And so if I play a vassal, and then I play a vassal, and I play a vassal, and then I play something that's terminal or non-terminal, then that entire chain evaluates whether the initial vassal was terminal or non-terminal.
What if your next action though, like, gives you more actions?
Then that
well, then
thing
that
was
action
the village.
gave you more actions.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
like if
then
you
it's not
if you
about the shop.
if you play this and then play a village off of it, the village is the village. This is not the village.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we don't need to.
Yeah,
we
it's
don't
not
need to.
terribly important
Sure,
unless
most
you're a
people listening
nerd.
know that. So.
Nerd! I am a nerd, so.
Yeah, well, you're on a podcast with two nerds, Danica.
Yeah, but I assume most listeners are nerds and probably definitely know that.
Yeah, you
definition, so.
did kind of know you were getting into a nerd
I,
podcast.
You say most people know that definition, and yet, let me tell you, Adam has had this discussion multiple times.
Look, if people aren't as obsessed with Dominion as I am, I say that as someone who hasn't been playing that much of it, but if people aren't as obsessed, I understand how they don't have it memorized, my exact definition, which is better than all of the rest of them. But then you go on the internet and you talk to other Dominion nerds who think they have a better definition than mine, and they're wrong. And they anyway.
They're wrong. The definitions I should be using will always be Adam's definitions. So
this is why we're friends.
Yes.
See, some people don't call them villages, and they're also wrong.
I mean, I think splitter is also an acceptable term.
Splitter. What about the people who call them tacos?
I disagree with that.
Okay. Anyways, I like that you can play more actions after playing this card.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you meant it's a sneaky non-terminal.
Sneaky non-terminal. Yes, I think that's actually, yes, I confuse non-terminal and village. Yes. Sneaky non-terminal. It's good for me to know this terminology.
That's an official term that we've definitely used many times before.
Welcome to Making Luck, a sneaky non-terminal podcast.
Yeah, I think I'd give this card a 4.
I think that's reasonable.
I gave this card a 6 out of 10 because I really like Peddler. And this card is not as good as Peddler, but it gives me slight Peddler vibes.
I think you just really like Peddler.
I really like Peddler.
Wow.
I just think I'm going to open with this like most of the time. Just one. And then like maybe later I'll pick up a second one. And then maybe I'll be playing in a game that has like a bunch of horses, and then I'll get the whole stack.
Whoa. That seems like magical Christmas land, but
I mean, a lot of the horse cards you only need one of them to be in the kingdom to get a bunch of horses.
I suppose.
I mean, it's like it's using the same technology as Imp and Conclave.
Mm-hmm.
And similarly to Conclave, especially, and to a lesser extent, Imp.
Yeah, I think there was something you said, Danica, how you liked that it was a sneaky non-terminal. And it made me think of this fact. I think this is probably one of the best designed cards in terms of like a game design standpoint. Like as a playtester, I always think about like, is it an elegant design? Is it, well, I mean, you have to think about if it's fun. But also, I like things that are elegant. And I think this is really elegantly done. Like, it pushes the variety theme. It is mechanically rather simple. I mean, Donald X is always complaining about how, like, cards have to be so complicated because I've done everything simple. And then he makes this card. And, like, bro, you're wrong. This is amazing.
Adam,
do this, you know?
Let's have that quote on clippable nature so that we can reinsert that a bit later on in the podcast at a very specific point that I have in mind?
I have multiple things I'm going to rage about, and I just want it to be very clear that this is not one of them. There are brilliant flashes of light in here. I think this is in poetry on a Dominion card. I haven't been this happy to see something on a Dominion card. If you're a video listener, I'm holding up my Mastermind Random. It's right here at my desk. It's like a picture of my kids.
Yeah.
It's like having a picture of my kids on my desk. I have the Mastermind Randomizer on my desk. Anyway, I really like the design of this card. Was there anything else?
Well, I was going to say that it uses the Conclave Imp technology, and the other note, so it's like good with horses or other cards that don't stay in play after you play them, which is mostly horses, but like Experiment is horse.
Nice.
And Mining Village if you trash it, but that's not a good plan.
What are you talking about?
No, I mean like
that's
building
a
your deck
below
around.
Average plan.
I'm going to have these, and I'm going to have mining villages, and I'm going to be able to keep playing them because I'm going to trash the mining village the first time I play it with this, so that I can get more actions. Like that is a bad plan. Unless you also have rogue. Anyway, edge case the edge case. No, what I was going to say is like, so they're good with those things, but they're bad with each other, right? Like you don't want a deck with these and conclaves in it. It's just like no bueno.
Oh yeah, that doesn't sound bueno to me either. Because you're only going to get the good business out of one of those cards. Like
right.
Yeah, ever. It's not where you want to be.
They don't play nice.
Yeah, it doesn't have that hashtag self-synergy. So
Ferryman.
Yeah, there is no direct replacement for Shop. A lot of the cards have direct replacements called out. This is not one of them. We'll talk about the removed cards that don't have direct replacements at the end of this. Anyway, Ferryman. Wandering Wonder.
Yes. Ferryman. Because there's only one Ferryman. It's not... Is the whole pile Ferrymen, would you say? Because there's 10 of them?
I would say it's Ferrymen.
Great. It's a 5-cost action. It says +2 cards, plus an action, discard a card. And then it has a horizontal line thing. And then below that it says setup. And then it has a colon. And then it says choose an unused kingdom pile costing. Then it has the symbol for 3 coins. And then it has or. And then it has a symbol for 4 coins. And then it says gain 1 when you gain a Ferryman. So you get a 3 or 4 cost that you will know what it is when the kingdom starts, but will be different from time to time that you play with this card.
Yeah.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah.
I don't think I read it very cleanly.
Yeah, and I think the thing that wasn't clear to me from the card text is that extra pile is it's not in the supply.
Yeah,
right.
That's important.
You can't get it any way other than getting a Ferryman.
Right.
That's the only way you get access to this extra pile.
If I'm going to do a little edge case with Wandering Wonder. If your opponent gets a Ferryman, and so then they get one of the cards, and then you like play a rogue to trash it, and then you play the rogue again to gain it out of the trash.
All right.
You can get one without having gotten a Ferryman.
Good point, Mr. Winder. Good point.
You got me. Yeah. Did you miss
with Wandering Winder?
Did you miss the podcast? So in any case, we played a game and like Gladiator was the card and Dominion.games.
How does that even?
It's bugged. Dominion.games has a bug where like it'll trash a Gladiator from the Gladiator pile, even though Gladiator says to trash it from the supply.
Oh.
So yeah.
Interesting.
But in any case, like you can just get a fortune and not take any debt if you get that far down into the Gladiator.
And the Gladiator pile costs 3, even though some of it doesn't cost 3.
Yeah.
That's okay. Cool.
So now we've talked about all of the rules, and I gave this card a 5 out of 10 with a question mark because who the crap knows how good this is because I don't know what card comes with it, and if that card is terminal, we have an issue.
Hi, Adam's cat.
Yeah, this is my cat. He's here. If that card is terminal, then it's hard to get a lot of these. Like, I can understand if that card is something important that you need access to, and now you have to hit 5 to get it. That's a significant nerf, but sometimes you're going to go for it. And hey, I mean, this is a fine thing to have in my deck. I'm happy about it. I'm usually never sad to put a Ferryman in my deck along with whatever I'm getting. But also, I'm paying $5 to get access to this thing.
Excuse me, sir. I think you're paying 5 bolivars.
5 of those. And so that's a little bit difficult to do. Now, with that said, after playing a couple games with Ferryman, I definitely had my expectations exceeded. It was better than I thought it would be. With that said, it's still a 5 out of 10. What do we think?
I like this one. I think I've decided to rate it a 7. And maybe not with great reason, but I think because of the fun factor. I love fun factor and just the, it being paired with a different 3 or 4 cost card every time and introducing something that's not it's within the kingdom, right? But not in the supply. And I like the discarding a card. Do you call that cycling?
Which card in the card?
I'm trying to use all the terminology that I know from you. Whole, if you can't trash your estates, then cycling, like drawing a lot and discarding a lot, that's cycling.
It is. That's a very good use of that term. Cycling is a loaded term when a lot of people say it, but when you go by my definition of what I like to call cycling, this is a form of cycling. It means you're doing something to play your best cards more often.
Yeah,
and that's
I
the
like
point
that.
of this. Yeah. It's not draw, but it increases the quality of cards in your hand, which is a form of cycling.
So yeah, I like this one. I rated it a 7.
I rate this one, and I quote the notes that I wrote up, 5, but who knows, LOL.
Just like Adam.
Yeah,
I just shot for the middle, honestly.
Because what's the 3 or the 4 cost? And this is ratings are not good to start with, but ratings on a card like this are especially
meaningless.
Throw my hands up. What are we doing here? At the point that I'm trying to rate it, there's a veritable Schrodinger's cat of what the 3 or 4 costs could be, right? And no offense to your cat, Adam, who has now left the frame, and I can't see him anymore. But
he's gone.
Yeah, they don't know what the 3 or 4 cost is, and when the time you're deciding whether you should get this card or not, you know exactly what the 3 or 4 cost card is. Come on. Now, it might be closer to a 7 because, anymore, the 3 and 4 costs are pretty good for the most part. If this is coming with a village and it's the only village in the kingdom, that's pretty good.
I'm going to buy it.
If this is coming with a fortune teller, you're playing with some weird card sets and rules.
I was going to say it's going to be difficult.
But it's probably not very good. If it's just coming with, I don't know, a generic... What's the Pearl Diveriest card that this could come with?
Harbinger.
Secret Passage. Oh, Harbinger. Great. If this is coming with a Harbinger, then you can discard a card and then play the Harbinger to put that back on top of your deck.
You love Harbinger.
But it's just that's not something that I would want to spend 5 on. That's why I rated a 5. Is if it's just some generically okay card, right? Then okay, this is a fine. I'm not going to be sad to put this in my deck, but it's not going to be this is the 5 I want, right? Because
it's competing
spending 5 to get a 3 or 4 cost with some sifting or cycling, as you might want to call it.
Sifting is a form of cycling. Yeah.
It's both.
But yeah, it's competing with all those other 5ers, so it's bad.
Yeah, and you need to make sure that you eat enough fiber.
Well, maybe we'll talk about fiber a little bit later. I wanted to say one more thing about the design of this. I'm going to have design thoughts about all of them, and there will be noisemakers a little later. But When I first read this, I was like, this seems a little bit fiddly. What is this really going to add? And I played a couple games with it, and I was like, all right, this is cool. I was a convert. I think this is a neat little thing to add to the game of Dominion.
And I think, so the thing that I first thought of when I saw this was Young Witch.
It does have a similar
because it has
setup.
a similar, like, oh, you add another cheat pile to the...
So now
to the
everyone
kingdom.
has to go update their forum threads about what's the most points you can get from fairgrounds.
Or how many different possible kingdoms are there? Because now...
I love it when those people have to go back and redo their math. It brings me great joy.
Well, actually, what's the most points you can... Oh, you mean on fairgrounds specifically?
Right, or museum or whatever.
Okay. Sure. I don't know if this changes that, but I thought you were saying what's like the most points you can score, and I'm like, well, it's infinite.
55.
But wow, I have definitely lost games with more than 55 points before.
Yeah, like
no, I like that the way that I feel. What's the right way to say this? I feel like I like the way that this implements the thing better than the way that Young Witch did it, but obviously this design wouldn't really work for Young Witch because as a Bane, the only way to get it is to get the thing. That card is then amazing.
Yeah, I think this is a cooler way to involve the extra pile in the kingdom as being like you can only get it through this.
You can only
thing.
Yes.
I think this is a much more elegant way to do something like a traveler pile. You know?
Speaking of traveler piles, the without the setup and extra gainy bits effect, this card is exactly fugitive.
Yeah.
Except also without the traveler.
Unless you have a menagerie and you want something differently. Okay. Are we ready to talk about Infirmary?
Sure.
Yes.
Great. Infirmary is a 3-cost action. It says +1 card. You may trash a card from your hand. And then it says overpay. Play this once per dollar overpaid. So I can pay 3 for this, and I can draw a card and then trash a card 3 times. Very exciting. So it has a very similar overpay to...
You can overpay 3 for it, which would be paying 6 for it.
That's what I meant. Is that not what I said?
I think you said pay 3 for it.
Rip. Okay. Well, I should probably get better at talking about Dominion.
Unless you said overpay 3 for it, and my brain was just like, nope, we're only going to listen to half of that word Adam said.
So we're going to make fun of at least one of us. I'm very excited to see what happens.
So I can pay 3 for this.
But anyway, this is replacing Doctor. The overpay is very similar because you can just buy a big Doctor and then trash a bunch of stuff. And you could buy a big Infirmary and trash a bunch of stuff. And then when it's in your deck, it can trash some stuff as well. I gave this card an 8 out of 10. What did you
You love trashing cards, Adam.
Trashing cards is overpowered. We should all be doing more.
I know.
Cats does count down, Adam. I am on a Cats kick tonight somehow.
I mean, cats are great.
Yeah.
Well, what do you all think? Danica, do you like trashing cards?
I do. I'm trying to embrace trashing cards more and get more of them. I feel like I always go with my comfortable like 1 or 2 trash cards, and then you do more trashing than I do, and then you beat me, which is for many reasons, but trashing is probably one of them. Yeah, I like this card. I find it similar to Doctor. I like that it's more predictable because you're, well, I don't know if predictable is the right word, but you're trashing from your hand
word.
instead
That
of
is
flying.
a fantastic word.
Well, thank you. All right. Yeah, which again, you know, if you're playing like Adam or playing, you know, like someone who thinks about all the things, you probably arranged for the right things to be on top of your deck with Doctor.
I have some words about that, but please finish.
Go right ahead. That's all my thoughts.
Oh, okay. So, I've played with Doctor a lot. In my life, I remember the Michigan tournaments. The guy who used to organize those and is still around, he would design kingdoms, and when he wanted to put trashing in a kingdom and reward skill, he would put Doctor in because it rewards people who track their deck. And while that it seems that way when you look at it, that's not what Doctor actually does. Because when
Doctor is a
anyone...
big old, like, randomness.
Right. If I play a doctor and I name estate because there's 4 cards in my draw pile and 2 of them are estate and 1 of them is a copper and 1's a silver, I will hit 1 estate. And if I don't name estate and I name the copper, I will not find a... Like, when anyone else plays a doctor and names copper, they are trashing 3 coppers with their doctor 100% of the time. Like, that is how doctor works. And also, like, you know, the overpay, if I open, like, Silver Doctor, for example, and I overpay 4 on turn 2 and I cause that
You
shuffle...
just top decked a silver, man.
I've top decked a silver or whatever other $3 buy. That happens 100% of the time for me. And so this card is much less powerful for me because of that. And I think a lot of people feel that way, even though they're objectively luckier than I am, because they're better at Dominion than me. Anyway, for something like that. But that's Doctor, and that's the experience that Donald X was trying to get rid of. And I think Infirmary does the job there, with the exception of the 3-4 opening where you overpay. There's still a 100% chance that if your name is Adam Horton, you are going to find that. So, but now you don't even get to top deck it. It's gone.
Adam, that's just because you're a math scientist.
I don't know what that means.
Well, it's like how you know that it's 100% of the time it doesn't work for you. It's because you're a math scientist. You know how math works and statistics and all of that.
Yeah. Am I supposed to be insulted? Oh, okay.
No, and you've never and you've never experienced any perception bias in your whole life.
Oh, yeah, not me. I don't really feel anything anymore. I don't experience any kind of emotion. So therefore,
Right.
I'm completely free of bias.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to
So-
see any emotion from me during the rest of this podcast.
I gave this card a 9 out of 10.
I contemplated giving this a 9. This gives me Masquerade vibes.
Yeah, that's not the worst
Yeah.
comp I've ever... I was thinking it kind of reminds me of Junk Dealer, but it gives you 1 less money than Junk Dealer,
And
but it
one
only
less
costs
action.
3. And it also gives you 1 less action, but it only costs 3, and it does have an overpay. So
Yeah.
it's like Junk Dealer, except for all of the ways that it's different from Junk Dealer.
Nice.
But I still think I think this feels quite strong, and okay, it's not the strongest trasher ever, but if the strongest trasher ever isn't on the board, then you're going to be pretty happy with this probably.
I think it's deceptively better at trashing than what it looks like. Because, yeah, you can play it a time and trash 1 card, and it doesn't even give you another action. So, unimpressive. But when you're putting the card in your deck, you get a big benefit right away, which matters so much. That is such a big boost. If I pay $4 for this card, it's already miles better than what it looks, because I just get to do that 1 time right away. And I know I'm going to be able to trash something bad with it. If I keep an estate, if I have 4 coppers in 1 estate, I buy this thing, I'm trashing the estate. That's a thing that will happen if I want it to, unless I draw a curse that I trash instead. Like, that's fantastic. That's so good. And I think it's easy to underestimate how good that is.
I agree. I think you did.
Yeah.
That's why I gave it a higher number than you.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think I set a rating for this one when I talked about it. I think originally I would have said 6. It's a good trash card, but after listening to y'all, I think I'm feeling more 7, especially because of the overpay. Like you said, Adam, like obviously the overpay benefit is great, but thinking about it in the way you put it, if going for this in your opening move and then being able to just have a lot more control and know what's in your deck, doing it that way.
I cannot tell you how much better this card is than Doctor.
Yeah, better in terms of power
We all
level,
agree
and
with
also better in terms of design. Like, just better for the game.
Yes and yes.
Yeah, and I think I do want to go back to that Masquerade comparison because I gave Masquerade a 9 out of 10. And that's because it's just so good to open with. It draws cards and it has an optional trash. And those two things put together in the opening are just nuts for something that costs 3, right? Now, Masquerade can serve as actual draw. This can't. But in the opening of the game, like, this is doing all of those things for you. And it's just so good. That's why I immediately wanted to give it such a high rating. And it didn't disappoint, and I could definitely see my way up to a 9 out of 10 for this.
Yeah, I think this is probably a hair worse than Masquerade
I agree.
overall. But, like, the ability to overpay, just, like, being a shuffle faster. If you open 4-3 and just turn 1, do this, and then immediately shuffle, like...
That's so good.
That's so good.
Yeah. And that short shuffle on turn 2, because you're going to see your Infirmary probably turn 3. And, like, that's...
You might see it turn 2.
You have the chance, yeah. But, like, you could also find a copper there. You could hit 4 and then hit 4 again. And just get another Infirmary if you want. Like, it's really good.
The world is your oyster/burrito.
The world is your oyster burrito. Farrier. Danica, would you like to read Farrier to us?
Yes. Farrier is a 2-cost action card that says +1 card, +1 action, +1 buy. It has an overpay ability of +1 card at the end of this turn per 1 coin overpaid.
Excellent.
Farrier has arrived.
What do you think, Danica? What do you think of this card?
I like this one. I think I like that it's cheap. I like that it has an extra buy. I like that it can help you in your next turn upon buying. Did this card replace a card?
No, there's no direct replacement here.
Okay.
There is a way in which this card replaced a card.
A way? A way hua?
Yes. That one, I thought you were going to make a pun off of the game mechanic ways, but yes, that is the way that I was referring to. I hadn't connected that with his name, but yes, I was going to ask, didn't this guy used to be a pearl diver?
Yes, he did. So the gentleman depicted on the art here is one of the very original playtesters. His name is Wei Hua Huang, and he actually was like an investor in Making Fun /GoCo. And when that bombed, I bet he lost a lot of money. So poor Wei Hua. But he was depicted on Pearl Diver, which was removed in the second edition of Seaside. And so he's finally back to being represented on a piece of Dominion art. So yes, I am not the first person whose face has ever been on a Dominion card. There were many before me. The entire Knights pile is based on real people. But he's back on a card. And this card ain't going anywhere. I don't think it's ever going to get removed from the game. So good on you, Wei Hua. Thank you for supporting online Dominion. Thank you for your sacrifice. I gave this card a 5 out of 10. And I am probably not doing it right, honestly.
Go on.
Did we get a number? Did we get a number from Danica?
No, I haven't said a number yet.
Okay.
Sorry, we were making dumb jokes. Danica, what do you think of this card?
Oh, weird. Okay, yeah. I thought conversation was
welcome
fluid.
to the podcast.
That's fine. But okay, before I think of and give a rating, I want to ask, so for the overpay ability, when I read this overpay, I think of how valuable it could be towards the end of the game when you're really wanting your next turn to be able to get a province or 2 provinces or whatnot.
12 provinces.
That's ambitious.
So is that, do you two think of that as well? Is that what I should be thinking about when I see this overpay ability is endgame?
Oh, what I think about when I see this overpay ability is I am going to do this all the time until the pile is empty.
All the way throughout, beginning, middle, end.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
definitely should be thinking about it, and I
not
know I'm not doing it enough.
literally every turn, but I'm like, oh, well, drawing 2 extra cards is really good. I want to do that.
See, like, if this was just card action buy for 2, I don't know, that's probably a 5.
Which
And
is what you get this card also.
yeah, and I read this, and I thought, there's no way this is going to be as ubiquitous as save or borrow, where you are going to be using this on like half of your turns, right? And then I started losing games to people who were just doing this a lot and not understanding why, because it was on temple gates, and it's really hard to tell what your opponent's doing. But still, I think there's a skill issue here for me.
I gave this card a 9 out of 10.
Oh,
A 9? What?
5 versus 9. That could be the biggest difference we've had thus far in this podcast.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You should
like
listen to the crystal ball.
the regular like market square effect of the card action buy is fine. Is good. Sometimes you
Solid.
need plus buy, and this is a solid way to get it. Like
It's one of the best
costs,
ways.
Market costs 5, and all it gives you in comparison to this is an extra money.
Yeah.
And this only costs 2, which also makes it easier once you get one to get a couple more to get a lot of buys.
Yes.
So that's nice, except that there won't be any left in the pile because the overpay effect is so good.
Yeah,
Like,
but
you
you
know,
still have a lot of buys in that case, so it's kind of okay.
Yeah, but what is that event that costs 3 and you...
Expedition.
Yeah. And, like, you pay 3 for that, and you do that all the time. It was really good.
Oh.
And, like...
I'm supposed to do that all the time, okay.
And then, like, you can do that with this card, and it'll cost 4, which is more than 3. So it's not like this is strictly better. It's not strictly better. But it's not that much more. And then you could pay 5 for this, and then you're drawing even more cards. You could draw 6. You could pay 6 for this, and it's like you bought 2 expeditions, except you only had to spend 1 buy on it, and you got this card also.
Okay. I can see how that gets more enticing, actually. And I think this is speaking to, like, the point Danica was trying to make about, like, the end game of making your next turn better. Like, I see that especially relevant in, like, a money density deck where I have 5 or 6 or maybe even 7. And what I really want is a province, and I don't think the duchy does much for me. And I really just want to buy provinces. This seems fantastic. I would consider buying this over gold in a lot of cases when I just want to get 5 or 6 provinces quickly. This seems really good.
I would consider buying this over gold, like, all the time.
Well, I mean, in non-money density, gold gets a lot worse, and I imagine drawing cards gets a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, like, in money density, maybe. But, like, even in that case, I'm going to buy this over gold significantly frequently because, like, if it's close to the end of the game, like Danica said at the end of the game, right? What's going to be better for my next turn? This is going to be the 4 extra cards.
Right, and I think you are probably warmer on doing this earlier in the game, like even maybe second shuffle. Could you see doing it that early?
I could see doing it on the first shuffle.
Really?
I could see and I don't know when you say second. This is a problem. When you
Turns
say
3 and
second
4.
shuffle, turns 3, 4. Yeah. I could even see doing it on turns 1 or 2.
In money density.
Well, turns 1 or 2. I don't know. Probably not in money density, unless there's like some really super important price point I'm trying to have. Probably not. Probably
it
not
doesn't
on
seem
turns
good
1 or
for
2 if I'm aiming for money density. But yeah, sure, turns 3 or 4. Like, you just spend 4 and draw 2 extra cards because you're trying to hit a price point for your key terminal that is going to be the most important card in your deck or whatever.
Well, I could see like hitting 5 on turn 3 or 4 or 5 on turn 3 and then like guaranteeing a gold on turn 4. That seems reasonable to me.
I mean, if I hit 4 on turn 3,
yeah,
you buy one of these, you buy a gold, that's going to be better than buying is it going to be better than buying a silver and having a chance at a gold? I don't know. Maybe. But like, you have to think about it at least, right?
Yeah.
And then like before long, it's going to be better for your next turn. Like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, at the start of the game, your next the silver or the gold or whatever might be better for your next 12 turns, and the game's going to last that long.
Sure.
But I think this card is really, really good.
Yeah. And I don't know. It doesn't seem that crazy to me. That all seems like a lot more often than what I would do it. And I also feel like I'm bad with this card, so maybe I need to look at that. That's just where I think I am on it. Danica, did you have any more thoughts?
Well, I don't think I've rated it yet. I'm going between 6 and 7.
All right.
I feel like it has a lot of potential that y'all have been talking about, or maybe more Mr. Winder, about using it the whole game, going for it instead of a gold. Similar to Adam, I feel like I have to learn how to be really good at playing this card. So for me, it might remain a 6 with my current abilities.
Yeah, I don't know that I know there are cards I'm bad with, and maybe I rate them lower than what I should. But no, I don't have any bias, so that's impossible.
Adam, there are cards that luck treats you badly with, like Doctor.
Yes, luck, of course.
Right.
Does anyone want to play Footpadsy with me?
Footpad. It's a 5-cost action attack. It says +2 coffers. Each other player discards down to 3 cards in hand. And then there's another one of those horizontal line things. And below that it says, in games using this, when you gain a card in an action phase, +1 card. Now, notably, that effect has no relationship to whether or not you have a Footpad.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a thing that happens. It's kind of like a setup, but it's more of an aura effect.
Okay, I want to go first on this one. When
Okay.
you talk about design, Adam, I hate this design. It's a terrible design.
I also hate the design.
There's multiple reasons I don't like this design.
Let's talk about
One, the top effect is way too similar to villain. You get 2 coffers from each of them. It's a discard attack with each of them. This one, they discard down to 3. The villain, they discard a card that costs at least 2. Yeah, that's different. I'm not trying to say it's exactly the same card, but like...
I'm going to say that that's a problem with villain and not with this card. I think villain is just boring and underwhelming in terms of its attack.
Sure.
But your complaint is valid.
But like, given that one exists, I don't think we need the other one.
Villain maybe just needs to be removed in the next edition of whatever set.
And then the below the line effect, I have multiple problems with it. One, what the heck? Like, this is totally unrelated to this card. Like, what are we doing here?
Yes.
Like, what are we doing? This doesn't relate to this card at all.
I wish there was some kind of mechanical story to tie them together. I've talked about like a mechanical a story told by the mechanics. So like my favorite example is Patrician Emporium. They're part of a split pile. Patrician draws cards that cost 5 or more, and the other card in the split pile costs 5. So Patrician draws it. That's all I need. I just want something like that here, and it's not there.
My favorite example is Car Talk.
Cartographer?
No, Car Talk, the old radio show with Click and Clack.
Oh,
the
Car
Brothers.
Talk. I listened to a lot of that in my dad's car.
Right. So that is a story that mechanics were telling you.
Oh.
Did you miss me?
That was so good.
That was really good. So yes, this is totally unrelated to the effect, which is one of the problems I have with the below the line.
Yeah.
The other problem I have with the below the line is like, why are we just randomly changing the rules of the game in such a like? I don't like it that Baker makes you start with a coin token. Like it's just you're changing the rules of the game. I don't like that.
I
that's
think
another issue.
There's a distinction I want to draw here. Baker is a change to the setup of the game. It's not the rules of the game. It's the setup of the game. And I think it's more okay to change the setup than it is to
Yeah.
change the rules.
I certainly don't have as much of a problem with Baker as I have with this, which technically doesn't, but it basically changes the rule. Like you could say that
It
ways
changes
also
the rules.
changed. You could say that ways changed the rules, and like yeah, kind of, and there's some other mechanics that like kind of change the rules, but like this is an extreme version of that.
Ways are a lot more graceful about it.
The first thing I thought of when I saw this was, I'm not going to get any of these, but I'm going to draw my deck and have one Ironworks, and then the pile is gone.
Of course, that's the first thing you thought of.
And then someone said the word groom, and I'm like, what are we even doing here?
That's a lot of draw.
Now I get to play a groom, gain 2 silvers, and draw 2 cards. And that's like the worst thing I can think to do with it.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue I have with the rules change is that every single game I've played online with this card,
yeah,
I have not realized that I'm going to gain a card and then draw a card from it until the first time it happens to me, let alone my opponent's already done it 4 times.
Right.
I don't realize that that is a thing until it happens to me, and then I show up with a card in my hand, or someone played a cursing attack on me, and suddenly I drew a card. Which means if I'm playing with this card in meat space, that's never going to happen. No one is ever going to draw a card in their action phase because of this. Because it is not something that people are going to remember, and there's no reminder.
It's not like when you play this card it happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen when you play this card, because this card doesn't gain a card.
Like this is so counterintuitive to the way like I have to unlearn bad habits about a game I've been playing with physical cards that is so reliant on muscle memory to deal with the mechanics of a deck builder before you can really start to focus on the fun stuff, which doesn't take that long. But I've been doing it for 13 years. I don't want to have to unlearn that because of this card that shows up in 1 out of 55 games. Why does it have to be this way? And like, yeah, when the computer does it for you, and once you realize it's happening, yeah, there's some cool, neato things that happen. But this doesn't pay for itself. Those other things that I thought, like the whole Add a Kingdom pile, that was fine. I'm happy about that. Because it's messing with the setup, and that's a lot more okay. But man, I play a lot of Spirit Island. There are adversaries that change the rules of the game. That is huge complexity creep. It is mentally taxing. When I play Spirit Island, I sign up for that. That is part of the experience. That is part of what makes the game good. And that is a 2 to 3 hour game sometimes, depending on the adversary. I don't want that in Dominion. Swing and a miss.
Anyway, that effect is super strong and like totally broken.
Yes.
I gave this card a 6 out of 10 because this card doesn't actually give you that strength. It gives other cards that power. And maybe I should be lower because this card makes a bunch of other cards like super bananas broken, and this is not one of them, so that like inherently makes it weaker. But I didn't really think about that. I just said, it's a 6.
So, I'm not gonna enter the discussion on how well to rate this card and like whether the criteria of rating this card is based on how much you want to buy the card when it appears in the kingdom, right? That is not a rating discussion that I think is relevant. I will say that I think the effect of this card is probably stronger than what you're giving it credit for. Plus 2 coffers, plus militia attack. I think that's solid. I think that's just really good to put on a card. Plus 2 coffers, very, very good. And then militia also very good. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
The 6 is probably like, I'm thinking of villain. Villain I would give like, I don't know, like a 4 or 5.
I would agree.
And I don't think, I guess my kind of gut feel is that this is better than villain. I'm going to think you're going to say that you agree.
Yes.
But I don't think that this is like 3 or 4 points better than villain.
This is pretty close to strictly better than villain.
it's a lot better than villain. Like maybe not a lot. I don't think it's a lot better, but I think it's clearly better.
Pretty close to strictly better.
I mean,
and I know those are big words. Pretty close to big words.
The times where they've got the one action card and that's the only thing they discarded, and then it wouldn't.
Yes, that is why I use those big words. Wandering Winter
don't matter. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is except the others. I don't know. Like, it's better than villain, but I don't think it's enough better than villain to get me to an 8. I'm giving it a 6.
I mean, I think militia is super strong, and also I do want to point out the whole like cursing attack thing. If I play a cursing attack and give you a curse, and then you draw a card, then I play a footy at the end of it, and you have to discard all the way down to 3. And the effect of this card actually being your deck is quite good if there's also that going on. Just a little interaction. Danica, I want to hear what you think. Sorry, I was raging
against the machine or the footpad.
Raging against the footy.
No, I love the rages. I like this card. I think it's fun. I like the added element of the +1 card. I agree based on listening to how you phrased it that it is, I think it's fair to say it's changing the rules for the game.
I did say it was kind of cool. I did let that escape my lips.
I mean,
so
I like
agree.
the little temporary added element of changing the rules. I agree that if I were playing this in person, I would totally forget to do it, especially because it is not just during your action phase. It says during an action phase, which applies to the example you were talking about with the curses. I think it's kind of fun that other cards that give an opponent a curse, now it's a little different, and you might also be helping them out in a way. So you might think differently about doing that. Or when you're receiving the curse,
it's like
no one wants a curse usually, but you might draw something that really helps you and is worth it in the end. So I like the added element. I like coffers. I like attacks. So I like this card. I give it a 7.
Yeah, I think a 5-cost card that just gives you +2 coffers and nothing else. What do I rate that? Like a 5 or a 6? Like, that's just really good.
Earlier, you kind of agreed with me when I said that I would give villain like a 4 or 5. And that is...
Okay, must be a 5 then.
Better
the sandwich theorem.
Than just 2 coffers.
Yeah, by the sandwich theorem, it must be a 5. Math joke.
And sandwich joke.
And welcome to Making Luck, a sandwich podcast. We did it again, guys. I'm so excited. This card replaces Taxman. Taxman is an attack that makes people discard. And then that's where the similarities end. I'm not gonna miss Taxman.
Nobody's gonna miss Taxman.
Generically weak.
Unless you're talking about the Beatles song. If someone like destroyed the Beatles song, Taxman, I might miss that. But the card, no.
Oh, we may have talked about this. I am not a Beatles fan.
Yeah. But what about if this card is in the kingdom, and then I play a bunch of cursors, so you draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah.
And then I play a bunch of pillages so that I can rip your hand very specifically apart, all the while
drawing
extra cards for
spoil
myself from the pillages. It's a combo.
Footpad pillage. And the ability to play all of them and a cursing attack. Wandering Winter
lets you do it. And
never change.
Champion lets you do it.
Yes, Champion only serves to enable this. Wandering Winter.
And Champion, there's no problem with Champion being around for this plan.
Yep. We did it. Edge case with Wandering Winter. If you're doing a judgment match and your opponent's somehow not allowed to get a champion, we did it.
Judgment match.
Yes.
Danica's sitting here like, I have no idea what you two crazy people are talking about.
Do you know what a judgment match is?
No.
Good.
Wandering Winder, that is correct.
Cool.
It's a way that some people use to
Have
try and
attempted.
determine which of two cards is better. And first of all, I don't know what that means, but second of all, Judgment Match is one of the worst ways imaginable to do it.
It's not, I would say, is not the worst idea I've ever heard.
It's
in
but it's down
practice,
there.
It's deceptively bad.
It's down there, like bottom 10% of all ideas that have ever been thought by humanity. Yeah. I went there.
I would not go there.
I went there. Farmhands.
Wait. Well, what you have to tell me the way of deciding. That's so bad.
Oh,
No, we don't.
Okay.
Adam, it can't
I'll
be
tell you
one of
when
the-
you're older.
It can't be the worst. It can't be the worst. It can't be the
All
worst.
right. We'll take
idea
this
I've heard.
offline. Fine.
I
definitely don't wanna
I have
put it on
two
the
things to tell
podcast.
you if you think this is the worst idea ever, and they're Jackass the movie and $37 million opening weekend.
Look, I just said bottom 10%, Wandering Winter. You can do worse. Like,
I stole that joke, by the way.
I'm censoring that. Anyway,
I stole that joke from like one of those Dear Abby type advice columns, but it wasn't Dear Abby. It was one of them that a dude wrote from like when Jackass the movie came out. I've been holding on to that one for 22 years or however long that was.
Wandering Winter, I'm glad that we can be here for you. It seems like this podcast is an outlet for a lot of things, and I think that's been missing from our lives.
And it's a way for farmhands to have fun.
Yeah, Farmhands. It's my turn, right? I'll read it. Farmhands is a 4-cost action. It says +1 card, +2 actions. I've never seen that before. Then it says, when you gain this, you may set aside an action or treasure from your hand and play it at the start of your next turn. And this replaces Farming Village, which is the standard village, +1 card, +2 actions, but it'll skip your victory cards and curses and
Technically,
find
it
you
doesn't-
something
It's not
decent.
+1 card, so it has a different interaction with the minus card token.
Of course. So this is a replacement of that. And I also put if you're a video listener, you, look, Farming Village did not offend me, but I don't know, this seems like it's better. I guess if you're gonna replace a card, you might as well do this and directly rework it. That's less objectionable to me. When I rage later, we're gonna talk about that a little bit more, but this isn't the place. I think the main thing I'm gonna miss about Farming Village is the Farmville meme. Like, I made this meme a whole long time ago with the Farmville, like the horrible Zynga game app thing. And I call Farming Village Farmville all the time, and it felt so good. And I'm gonna miss that. But
Adam, do you remember Zynga?
I never played Farmville.
No, I don't mean
And I never
Farmville.
went
I
on
don't mean
Zynga.
I don't mean the games. I mean Zynga, like the really, really old social media website.
No,
You remember before Facebook there was MySpace,
Zanga?
and before MySpace there was, or maybe it was.
Okay, I do.
It was roughly concurrent with MySpace.
I remember Zangas. Zanga. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I
don't
some of my
remember how it was
friends in
spelled.
high school, middle school had that. That's how old I am. But in any case, and then I guess my objection is farmhands sounds very similar to farmlands. So farmland.
Xanga.
Dang it, you're right.
Not X, what they're trying to call Twitter now. Just
Please
X
no.
is the first letter of this.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a village, and that's fantastic. Also, if you this village, I think the synergy between village and the effect that it gives you of setting aside a thing to play it next turn. If it's a treasure, it acts like save basically.
Yeah.
With without paying the extra $1, but you bought a $4 village. That feels very similar to
Basically
what save
paid
does
the
a lot of
extra
time.
because you didn't spend the money.
Sort of, if you're comparing it to...
I guess it's cheaper than factual save, but it's pretty similar.
Sure, but the effect feels a lot like that.
Yeah.
Where I have $1 that I'm not spending this turn. I'm going to save it for next turn, right?
Yeah.
That it feels the same way. But then, if you do it with an action, save would also do that. But this lets you play it at the start of next turn, which is great because that's effectively +1 action. And so the idea that I'm going to build my deck in a different way, having more terminals at the start than I otherwise would, because now whenever I collide, I can just put a farmhands in my deck. And not only does it bail me out of the current situation, but also I have a deck that's over-terminaled. What do you think is a good card to put in that deck? I don't know, but
Maybe
I may
Village.
be looking right at it, right? So the fact that these are together on these effects are together on the same card, that is what I'm talking about. That is why I wake up and I have to change my pants after I dream about hunting grounds. Like that is the kind of poetry that I want to read on a Dominion card. So I just want to okay, I'm done gushing about that, and yes, that is an intentional word choice. Farmhands, 7 out of 10.
Adam, you trying
Yes.
to get sponsored by Depends?
Look, I am not ashamed of wearing an adult diaper. I've done it before.
I think Adam's trying to make himself censor so he can use
I-
whatever sound he likes to use
I
for
know.
censoring.
We need to get a censoring sound for Danica.
All right, it's time, Danica. I need you to use a profanity if you're gonna. But I can't do anything until you swear.
Okay. Right now?
Or later, it's fine.
Okay. I'll try to before the end of this.
Oh, okay. We're gonna work it in. Great.
With great effort, I am confident that she can achieve saying that.
Yeah, so villages are fantastic, and I think the upside on this one is quite good. I contemplated giving this an 8, landed on a 7, but I think this is good. Solid card. And I'm very pleased. Thoughts?
Yes, I'll share my thoughts.
Thank you.
I loved Farming Village. I am pretty sure I like Farming Village more than Farmhands. But again, I don't know that I doubt it's actually a better card. All the points you made, Adam, were so good.
I
think
want to
that
know
Courtyard synergy, yeah.
why you loved.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I'll tell you.
It's the courtyard.
I love the
synergy.
thrill of Farming Village. I love not knowing what I'm going to get, but it's going to be good because you only keep actions and treasures.
You
And
love
again, as someone who
diggers.
doesn't
You love
track,
cards
what's
that
that?
you love the cards that dig through the deck.
I love them. Yes, I love them. And again, as someone that doesn't really track, I love being genuinely surprised at what is pulled and getting a village at the same time, and it
That's
only costs you
beautiful.
4.
Just want to say,
Yeah.
please continue.
So
Let me ask you this, Danica. Have you ever seen a
Yes.
card called Adventurer?
Adventure was removed from the game before I was ever friends with Danica.
Okay.
then probably not. I feel like
Yeah.
I made friends with Adam shortly after I found Dominion.
First edition base.
Adventurer. Can you describe it?
Adventurer, yeah, it's a guy like kind of standing on the side of a cliff with a fold-out map open.
The artwork is very critical. Thank you.
You
for
would
getting into
love this
that
card,
part. Yeah.
Danica. You're gonna love it.
It's a 6-cost action card, and it says that you reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal 2 treasure cards. Put them into your hand, discard the rest.
Discard the that you drew. I was thinking
That you revealed from the top of your deck.
No, I definitely have never played with that card, and it sounds like a card I would love.
Yeah, it's incredibly weak.
It is.
Again, my ratings don't always go with strong versus weak. It's how much fun do I have?
Oh, for sure.
It is far more important than yes.
But okay, so yes, I loved Farming Village. I think I'll always love that card. Farmhands, I like. And I like especially the point you made, Adam, about how you might buy it because you ended up with 2 terminal action cards and you can't play them both. So you're solving that problem by getting to play one of them your next turn and it's not wasted. But in buying it, you're also solving the problem overall, helping your deck for the future with that hopefully not happening again. So that aspect of it, I really like.
Right, and also like I wanna explicitly say this because there's an additional benefit to what you're talking about here. Your deck has a problem, and yes, this is not a way I would normally build my deck, but the fact that this is in the kingdom, just sitting there in the middle of the table or on my computer screen these days, the fact that this is just sitting there, not in my deck, I haven't bought it yet, allows me to build a deck that has that problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a really good way to build the deck when this is here to bail you out of it.
Yeah, that's so true. You could intentionally build your deck that way,
Yeah.
knowing you can solve it and you won't have that problem forever.
Right. And if you never collide those terminals, great. You just got really lucky building your deck in a very aggressive way. I mean, eventually you'll buy this for the village effect and it'll still be fine, but like you're doing great. Like there's an implicit upside to this that also I think we first saw it with Villa. Right, you can just over terminal your deck knowing you can get a Villa to bail yourself out of it. And this is better because it draws you a card instead of giving you $1 and a buy, which I think is an overall better effect to put in your deck. Unless you care about the plus buy. Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I was originally thinking like 5 for this, but after hearing your excellent points, I'm giving it a 7.
Man, I'm so good at talking about Dominion cards. I'm humble too.
So yeah, pretty much everything Adam said about this card. I also gave it a 7. Although from what Danica just said, I was thinking like when you said you were thinking about giving it a 5, and I thought I would probably give Vanilla. You probably just heard my phone go off, didn't you?
A little bit. That could be the noise we use to censor Danica.
Could be.
Please continue, Wandering Winter.
I was thinking, so she said that she was maybe going to give it a 5, and then I thought to myself, I would probably give Vanilla Village that cost 4 a 7. And I thought, would I? I don't know. But that made me want to maybe think about giving this an 8. Yeah, maybe Vanilla Village for 4 would be a 6. That's probably.
I'd probably give it a 6, yeah.
So like you could maybe give this an 8 because like I do think you often would prefer to build your deck in that way that it's over terminal, and you just don't because it's like too bad if you get over terminal. So this just lets you build the deck that you would really want to build anyway and get away with it. And that's just like, it's not like, oh my gosh, 10 out of 10, it's overpowered. But it's just really nice.
Yeah, and I'm someone who is very averse to building decks that are over terminaled, and I'm using air quotes there, because what I consider to be over terminaled is a lot less terminaled than what most other people would consider it. And I'm happy there. I think most other people build decks a lot more aggressively when it comes to their terminal space, right? And I definitely err on the other side just because I think dead cards in hand are just so bad. And so I decrease the risk of that. So the fact that this allows that to be the case, that's a bigger change in my mind than I think it would be for a lot of other people, where I guess they're not making a mistake they commonly make, and it helps me win games against them, but whatever. I mean,
so what you're saying is this card is bad for you because it will make the opponent's mistakes not be mistakes anymore.
It's better for other people than it is for me, perhaps.
Okay. Because you're a better player than them.
I mean, that was implicit, but I don't disagree.
Great.
So, who wants to talk about this next pile of garbage? I mean, Dominion card.
It's Joust. It's a 5-cost action. It says plus a card, plus an action, plus a money. And then it says you may set aside a province from your hand. This is still part of the on-play effect. You may set aside a province from your hand to gain any reward to your hand. Discard the province in cleanup. This is a pretty close parallel and pretty direct replacement of Tournament. You may be wondering what rewards are, and buckle up because there's 6 of them.
Yep.
So I'm going to get this out of the way first. They all cost 0. They are all rewards.
They have
First
the
one.
reward type.
Yes, sorry. Yes, they're rewards. They have the reward type. So the first one is called Renown. It says plus a buy. This turn, cards cost 2 less. None of these are in the supply either. That is exactly Princess, except it has a different name, and for some reason it doesn't have the asterisk.
Yeah, he stopped doing asterisks on card costs at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's exactly Princess, except instead of a prize, it's a reward. Instead of from tournament, you get it from Joust, but like it's the same thing. And it's called Renown instead of Princess. The next one is called Courser. So Renown was an action. Courser is also an action. Courser says choose 2 different options, plus 2 cards, plus 2 actions, plus 2 money, gain 4 silvers. So that is almost exactly Trusty Steed. It's got a slight non-functional difference of wording, and then it has a very slight functional difference in that Trusty Steed had the Chancellor effect that if you chose the silvers option, you also put your deck into the discard pile, which does not happen with Courser. And probably half of you were just like, I forgot that Trusty Steed did that. And then like another quarter of you are like, no, he's just made that up. But I actually haven't. Go look at the card. The next one is something I don't know how to pronounce. I heard
I
someone
looked
say
this
they
up.
thought it was, Demence?
It's Domain.
Domain.
But in my mind, it will always be Demesne.
Oh, I was going to say Demesne. Demesne.
Yeah, I looked it up.
Not Demesne. Demesne.
Yeah.
Demesne. Demesne?
Domain.
What does demean?
Domain. Yes.
Not demean.
Domain.
I'm not going to demean you by calling it Demesne. I'm going to say
Thank you for that.
Domain.
Yes.
Because it's Domain card that I'm reading right now.
Thank you.
Domain. It's an action victory reward. It says plus 2 actions, plus 2 buys, gain a gold. And then there's a line that says it's worth 1 victory point per gold you have in the scoring phase at the end of the game, obviously. The next one is a treasure reward. It's called Huge Turnip, and that makes me think of Blackadder. And its play effect is plus 2 coffers and then plus a coin per coffers you have. The next one is House Carl, which is all one word. It's not House Carl, the house of many people named Carl. It's House Carl. And it's got a picture of a guy with an axe and a helmet. Presumably the House Carl.
I would hope.
And it's an action, and its play effect is plus 1 card per differently named action card you have in play. And then the last one, because there's 6 rewards, even though there were only 5 prizes, there's 6 rewards. The last one is an action treasure reward called Coronet. Coronet like a crown kind of thing, not cornet like the bugle kind of thing.
And
Important difference.
It's cornet for me every time because I'm a bando. I can't unsee it, but please continue.
Anyway, the text on this card says you may play a non-reward action from your hand twice. And it also says you may play a non-reward treasure from your hand twice. I should note that when it says both of those, you do get to do both, and you get to do both whether you're playing it in your action phase or your treasure phase. Treasure phase? Buy phase. It's called the buy phase, not
the playing
treasure phase,
treasure is part of your buy phase.
Yeah, you get to do both. So there's 6 of these. I will note that unlike Tournament, you don't get to gain a duchy. Unlike Tournament, Joust can't be blocked. And unlike Tournament, you don't discard the province. You set it aside and then discard it and clean up.
Also, the reward goes to your hand, and the tournament put the thing you gain on top of your deck.
Right, which would go to your hand from the +1 card
if you weren't
effect of Tournament if the tournament wasn't blocked, typically.
But then like Joust just draws you a card.
An extra card if you get the, that's true.
Yeah. So I want to reserve a lot of my thoughts about this pile until after we're done with the strategic discussion. Because my strategic my strategic chops are not there for this, and I don't want them to be. But I think the most, legitimately, in all seriousness, the most important thing about this is the fact that there is not princess anymore. It aggravated me from a very long time ago that princess is a prize to be won. And I made that Princess Jasmine meme, which is on your screen if you're a video listener. I made this years and years ago with the angry Jasmine face. And instead of "this is not on the supply," it says "this is not a prize to be won." And like, we got rid of Harem. Good riddance. Get out of here. I want to burn those cards. And I will once I get my farms, which I still can't do. But I'm going to burn my princess card too. Like, sexism in Dominion was there in the base set implicitly, and it was overt here, and that was not okay. And good riddance. This needs to be gone. It's gone. Justice has been served.
I do like the meme that you made, though.
Pretty funny meme.
That's a great meme.
Little edgy, on point, points out the awfulness, and also involves Jasmine, who at the time was the best Disney princess until Elsa came along, and now she's the second best. Anyway, let's discuss.
I have a very important question before we discuss, and that is Moana a Disney princess?
She's in the Facebook group. She's in the group chat, so yeah.
Because I think I would rank Moana above Jasmine.
Wow. I mean, Elsa was there before Moana, but I haven't really thought about it. Jasmine was like the OG favorite of mine. And you know why? It's because she was not a prize to be won. I love that she's... Anyway.
Strong female characters. It's what we want.
It's what I want. God, dudes are so awful. I apologize.
For being a dude?
We're the worst. No, on behalf of the dudes. It's not my fault that I'm a dude. I didn't do this to myself. Genetics haven't been kind to me. Anyway, let's talk about Joust.
Yeah, so it costs 5 instead of 4, and I think that alone makes it worse than Tournament. It just... So, like, when I hit my first 4 of the game, I'm like, oh, Peddler's really good. I'm going to get myself a Peddler. When I hit my first 5 of the game, I'm like, gee, I wish there was something better than a Peddler to get for 5. Like, I don't buy Treasury all that much because, like, it's a fine card, but I usually want some other 5 better.
Yes.
Right? And that is not true of, like, the 4 cost you getting it on turn 1 or 2, and you're like, yeah, give me. Now, I will say, before the deluge, I'm going to say some positive design things about this card, which don't serve to necessarily disagree with what Adam is about to unleash upon the world. But there are some positive things about this, especially in comparison to Tournament, right? So one, this card doesn't get blocked by other provinces, by other people's provinces, which to me was the most annoying part of Tournament. Like, I hated it.
I'll agree with that.
Sometimes, if it was Peddler, I might get like several of them. But if it's Tournament, I don't really want to get like 3 or 4 of them because if one gets blocked, they'll all get blocked. And is it going to get blocked or not is super random because it's just based on your opponent's starting hand, more or less. I mean, occasionally there's something you could do to set it up so you'd be blocking them, whatever. And then you're incentivized to like save a province over, which is like not that much fun, especially the like 3rd or 4th or 68th time that you're doing it.
Yeah, like it's unique and it's different, but in terms of does this pay for itself? I mean, I think that was the thing that was put in to try and make it more thematic, right? Like, this is what this card does. We're going to lean into it. But that's a lot of words. That's mechanics on a card. It's an awkward waiting phase online. Like, I don't think it pays for itself. So, yes, I definitely agree with that. And I think Joust is less bad than Tournament.
Yeah. The other things that I will say about Joust, so there's no followers equivalent anymore. And that was... So followers wasn't always the prize you would get first. But it was the prize that was most likely to be, oh my gosh, my opponent got this, and now I just feel miserable, and I feel like it's going to be extremely hard for me to win.
It resulted in the most tables getting flipped.
I'm very much not. Yes, exactly. And that's not around anymore. So that's like a positive development.
Yes.
The other thing about the prizes is it used to be there was one way to, well, there's kind of two ways to draw cards because Trusty Steed and followers kind of do that, but
Yeah, but
followers is not really what that
followers is not what you want when you want to draw cards.
Right.
Like that's like saying Distant Lands is like Lab, and no, Distant Lands is like Duchy. I realize there's problems with that, but that's where my mind.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's like one good way to draw cards. There was one way to get plus buy. There was one way to get a village effect out of the prizes. And now there's two ways to do all of those things, or actually more than two ways in some of the cases. So like if your opponent just gets Trusty Steed or Courser now, it's not like, well, that's the only village, I lose, right? Or if they just get Renown, it's not like, well, that's the only plus buy, I just lose, right? Because if they get Renown, you could get Domain. Okay, great. I remembered correctly.
Nice.
If they get Courser and you're like, well, I needed a way to draw cards, like you can get Housecarl. If they needed, I don't know, now you can get Coronet, right? So like that is a positive development. I guess I should also say, so with two players, well, and this is going to lead into Adam, so it's going to be the last thing I'm going to say about, what did I give this? Because it's so much weaker, I think, because it costs 5, which is really the main thing for me that makes it weaker. What did I give this? I gave this a 4 out of 10 because but the other rules thing about this is in games with 3 or more players, you have 2 copies of each reward that you play with, and you can just take whatever rewards are left. I guess you can't gain duchies anymore. And there is no followers, so the only way of scoring now off this is Domain. So that's maybe not the best, but anyway. So there are 2 copies of each reward if you're playing with 3 or more players. There is only 1 copy of each reward still if you're playing with a 2-player game. Adam, go ahead.
Danica, would you like to say anything about this card? Because what I'm going to say is not going to be productive.
Okay. Yes, I have a few thoughts. I will miss the blocking effect of Tournament. I loved that about it. I feel like I view all these things that you guys don't like, I just view as like, I'm the attacker and I like it. That's always how I hypothetically think of it, even though in games with it, I would also be getting, attack isn't the right word, but blocked by it.
You are not wrong, Danica. You have
you.
a
No,
different
you're
opinion
absolutely
about
right.
what you think is fun, and that is okay. We
I
can be
love
friends.
blocking.
I just like, I don't know if it's because I'm a pessimist, like I feel getting blocked more than I feel the enjoyment of blocking someone else.
Oh, I love blocking. I love attacking. I also will miss followers because and it's funny that you brought up followers, Wandering Winder, because I love getting it and doing the attack to others. Yeah, so that's my main thought, is that I'll miss the blocking effect. I love the idea of Domain. I haven't played with it yet, but I love anything that like gets you money and VPs at the same time and is a village and has buys. I love that. Yeah, so I really liked both cards. I like the fun of it, of not knowing if you will get a reward. So I was going to rank this as 7. I feel like I'm ranking all cards I just generally like as 7. Maybe an 8, honestly.
There's nothing wrong with
it's
that.
so fun.
I gave it an 8.
Yeah.
In Domain, I also like attacking. But it's just the I don't know, this particular card tournament didn't sing with me after a while. It wasn't my, there were some people who hated it, and it wasn't, you're about to hear, it wasn't that way for me. It just wasn't the most fun. Again, in Domain, I like attacking, but your mileage may vary.
Danica, I'm glad that you enjoyed both the before and after of this, and we don't have to like everything exactly the same for me to like. I have opinions on what I think is good game design, and then I have opinions on what I think is fun.
And other people can have other opinions and be wrong? Is that what you're going to say?
Well, about game design, my opinions are just objective fact. But with fun, I cannot tell you what is fun for you and what's not fun for you. Okay?
That's right.
Now, I can tell you that you shouldn't go around killing people, and that's objectively correct. You shouldn't go kill people. But if you go kill someone and you have fun doing it, I can't tell you that you didn't have fun doing it. I can tell you a lot of other things about it, but if you had fun, I can't take that away from you. Now, you liking tournament is not the
tell
same as
them
killing
that anyway. Might not be true, but you can
I would
tell
be
them,
wrong
no,
if
you
I
didn't
told
have
you that.
fun.
And I'm not going to say things that are wrong because I never do that. So
Right.
It's never wrong.
Right. So anyway, let me just be clear about that. Be you, enjoy what you like to do, and never let anyone change you. Okay. I'm gonna okay. So tournament is a card that was on my ban list from very shortly after I ever played with the card. I did not like the fact that there were the prizes that were opportunities available to one player that the other player couldn't have. The first one to get it has it. The other player can't get it this game. Right? And I didn't like that. Tournament made its way quickly to my ban list, and I proceeded to not play games with Tournament. There's an entire episode of this podcast about Tournament that I wasn't on. It was a Jake and a Wandering Winder episode. They talked a lot about it. I'm sure what they were saying was good strategic advice. I don't know. I don't play with that card. I'm bad with it, and I didn't go on the episode because I was sick, but like the next time I was sick and I wasn't going to be on an episode, they were going to do that one. I didn't want to be on that episode. I'm bad with the card. You shouldn't listen to what I have to say strategically about the card because it is just me swinging in the dark. Okay? I did read up on playtesting to have a general idea of what was going on. I saw for Cornucopia 2nd edition that tournament was getting reworked. I thought this is great. I saw there were new rewards. And I did read up and say that included in the 2nd edition box was 2 copies of each of these. Great. I was very happy. But I still try and stay distant from it because if I'm not going to playtest, I would rather just kind of be independent and then have the freedom to make content when I want. So I was aware of these things, but I was like very excited. Joust is happening. This is a card that's like Tournament, only it's not going to go on my ban list. There's this part of Dominion that everyone has been experiencing. They're going to cut out the tumor, and they're going to let me experience this part of Dominion that everyone else is having fun with, and now I get to have that fun too. I was so happy. I was so excited. This 2nd edition came out. I read all about it, okay? I read the card images. I went online. I was really excited, and I looked at the reward pile. What's going on here? Why is there only 1 copy of these? It's a 2-player game. And so I Googled the PDF of the rule book, and it says 3 players, 2 copies. 2 players, 1 copy. You've got to be fucking kidding me. The cards are right there. And you're telling me that I can't use them. Oh, but Adam, they're your cards. When you play with your physical cards, you can play by whatever rule you want. Really? No, I can't, because Dominion is not a game that's played with physical cards anymore. Dominion is a computer game. The world is a different place. It's a worse place. It's a different place than it was 4 years ago, okay? I'm a different person. I'm a worse person, but I'm a different person than I was then. And the world is a different place. And Dominion is a different game. Dominion is now a computer game. We've had so many errata that don't make any sense for people playing the game with physical cards. There are cards where you can't buy them in physical form yet because of errata. It's a nightmare putting on tournaments. You can't tell me that fixes it. The solution was right there in front of you. Donald X even mentioned in his introductory notes, yeah, well, a lot of people didn't like that there was only one copy of each prize. But none of the playtesters really felt that way, so we decided to just not fix this problem, even though we cost us absolutely nothing to do it. Screw you! And look, when this card was being developed, I was still dying of cancer, okay? Right now, I'm only inconvenienced by cancer. I was dying of cancer at that point. If I wanted to, I didn't have the mental acuity or the physical ability to type into that Discord server and tell them how wrong they were. So maybe we can blame this one on cancer, and I'm extra mad about it. Why would you do this? There's so much potential here. These prizes, they actually make sense. Coronet is so cool. Huge turnip? I don't like the word huge, but like giant turnip? That would have been so cool. I could have fixed that. It could have just been giant turnip instead of huge turnip, and it would just be so much better. Domain? That's a cool word. Look at that. It's so cool. The art on Corsair is so much better than the art on Trusty Steed. And House Carl, well, that's a stinker. But he didn't need to be there. Also, I got one more thing to rage about, and I'm going to do it right now. There are 6 rewards, 2 copies of each, okay? So if you do a little bit of mathematical calculations, you're going to discover that that's 22 cards. That's not a multiple of 10. Remember when they cut Silk Road out of Hinterland's 2nd edition? Well, that wound is still open and festering on me, and it hurts every day of my life. And you know why they didn't put Marchland, which is we're going to talk about. You know why they didn't put that in Hinterland's 2nd edition? Because it wouldn't fit in the box, because there were 2 extra cards, because it was a victory card. Well, you put 2 extra fucking cards in here. It fits in the box. I can do math. It's not an excuse. What? It frustrates me to no end that this card is going right to my ban list again. I don't get to have this fun. And it's because of such a stupid decision. And I don't say... That's not a word that I like to use, but that's what this decision was. It was stupid. There's just a better decision to make that's right there in front of you and costs you nothing to do, and you didn't do it. And the justification holds no water at all. F-. Anyway, does anyone have anything else to say?
Yeah, have you ever played the board game Apples to Apples?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that, at least for me, and this is a bit subjective, but for me, the absolute best card in that game is Festering Wounds.
Oh, in a game with me, it's Tom Hanks, because I always pick it no matter what, because I love Tom Hanks. Anyway, Danica, do you want to talk about Marchland?
Yes, I'd love to. Marchland is a cost 5 victory card. It reads, worth 1 victory point per 3 victory cards you have, round down. Horizontal line. When you gain this, +1 buy and discard any number of cards for +1 money each.
Cool. This is replacing Silk Road. Marchland is a promo card. It is not part of Guild's Cornucopia's 2nd edition, but it was released not too long ago, and it makes sense to talk about it here. I'm a little exhausted from raging, but Silk Road.
I'm gonna start.
Okay.
I'm gonna start on this. So you remember, Adam, when you said earlier that there was some line about, I can't make any cards that have few words on them and are simple anymore because I've already made them all?
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Remember when I said that was going to come back later in the episode?
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty much at the end of the episode. When do you think it's coming back?
Tomorrow.
No.
Oh, now?
I thought you were never wrong, Adam. No, it's coming back right now. Silk Road was simple.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marchland, without the below the line, would be simple because it's, a very similar card.
Mm-hmm.
But Marchland, as it is more complicated than Silk Road.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have not so many simple cards anymore? Because you get rid of them and add more complicated ones.
Mm-hmm.
Why you got to do that?
I mean, Silk Road, if you wanted to just like buff it to 1 VP per 3 victory cards, and then maybe make it cost 5, I don't know. That probably would have been fine.
Or you could have just kept it. It was fine.
Yeah,
It was
I
fine.
also
You didn't need to
think
get. It was
Silk Road did
fine.
nothing wrong.
Silk Road was my favorite card. I don't know if you know this. Silk
I know.
Road was my favorite. Yeah, I know you know. I don't know if Danica knows this. Silk Road was my favorite card. I don't know if do you know what Silk Road was? Has it been gone too long? I don't know when you started playing.
No, I know Silk Road.
Lovely. Silk Road was my favorite card. Love me a Silk Road.
Yeah.
Not the internet website, and I don't have a good enough historical knowledge to know about the like trade route. Trade route was not a very good card, but the trade route that was called the Silk Road, it was a great card. I loved it. It wasn't the strongest card, but it was so much fun. And like, I just loved it. Where it's like, well, I don't have any provinces, but I do have 23 victory cards, and 8 of them are Silk Roads, and 6 of them are duchies, and it's fine. I win because I have 1,000,000 points because I have all the Silk Roads. Deal with it. I love me some Silk Road. And okay, like, yeah, then they printed Groom, and it's like, oh, well, that's kind of too easy. Because it was kind of too easy to do the Silk Road Groom thing.
But
that wasn't Silk Road's fault. That was Groom's fault.
yes.
And like before that, there was Ironworks, and like, oh, you could do Ironworks Silk Road, and like that was fun. It wasn't trivial to pull off, and it wasn't like so overpowered. Like but also just like make a good deck and draw a bunch of cards and get a bunch of provinces before the Ironworks Silk Road thing did its thing enough to win, right? Like that was the thing that could happen. It just opened up more things, and then a lot of the times it was just like, oh, it's some victory card that's worth a point or two, or whatever, right? It was fine. It was fine. Who hated Silk Road? Why did it have to go? It wasn't that weak. It wasn't like Fortune Teller. It wasn't Scout. Remember Scout? You don't remember Scout, Danica. Remember Scout, Adam?
How could you ever forget? There's a trophy with Scout right here.
Yeah. This was not Scout. It was perfectly fine, and they got rid of it. And like Marchland, okay. I don't dislike Marchland. Marchland's pretty good. Like 1 card per 3 victory cards. Like, so if you're just getting some provinces, it's probably not that great, because I'm just getting some provinces. I can trash my deck, and then I build up some draw stuff and get some econ, and then I'm going to buy provinces, and I get like, oh, so I have 4 provinces and a couple of these that are only worth 2 points. Like, that's not very good, right? And it's not if you're doing that. You don't have to do that. Like, what if instead of that, I draw my deck, and then I have a bunch of money and not so many buys. So I buy 8 of these in the same turn, and then I get 1 province. Now these are worth 3. And then we're going to be like duchy dancing or something. And so they're going to end up being worth 5. Or what if I just, I don't know, I build up, and then I go sloggy, and I go, let's take all of these. I don't trash my initial estates, and then I'm going to get some initial estates, right? So then I have 8 of these and 8 estates. So I have 16 victory cards, and these things are worth 5 each, and the estates are worth 1 each. And you know what 8 estates plus 8 of these is worth
55.
in terms of, no, it's not 55 points. It's worth the exact same amount as 8 provinces. And like, this is easier to get 8 of these and 8 estates than it is to get 8 provinces.
Mm-hmm.
So like, this is a strong card. Now the plus buy thing and the discard is like a little bit weird. I don't know, whatever. It lets you not have to have so many buys when you're trying to like dance around victory points at the end of the game where you've been drawing a bunch. So like, that's nice, I guess.
I like the fact that is put on a victory card. I think if you're going to have that effect, it makes sense to put on a victory card. So
the discardy bit helps you if you're slogging it up, because then like you're going to have enough money afterwards to buy an estate with it or something, because you're just going to have some green cards in your hand. You
pretty sexy.
And you're gonna, fine.
That tunnel synergy is there.
That tunnel synergy is there, Adam. It is. And I know that maybe there's some, because they've been having more of these like discard synergy things, and like, I don't know, Village Green probably does something, and Trail is going to be hard to make much use out of, but I don't know, maybe.
Trail plus
like,
one of the ways. That
I was
matters.
going to say way of the +2 coin.
There you go.
Yeah, this gives you the buy, and then boom, you're. I don't know why you didn't play the Trail already. You drew your deck and you didn't need to, I guess. I don't know.
Trail plus Way of the Mole.
Sure.
That it doesn't help because you have to discard all of them at once and then reveal all of them. You don't get.
Well, but you could Trail and Way of the Mole, and then maybe discard other trails that you don't Way of the Mole, but order them in such a way that
it's not good. This isn't.
Afterwards, if you still have enough money, then you have more cards to discard with your next one of these that you buy. We did it, Adam.
It's no.
Broke
This isn't. It's
no. I know it isn't.
Okay.
It's like a tunnel. Now tunnel
seems great.
Multiple things like I don't. Great is probably a bit strong.
Okay, when it comes to things that interact with tunnel, this is in the upper echelon of those. But we can only ascend to mediocrity with tunnel.
I was gonna say probably the best thing that combos with tunnel is having 3 money and a buy and needing 2 victory points.
There you go.
That is a great combo with tunnel.
And it pumps up your Marchlands because it's a victory card. Boom.
And it also pumps up your domain if you discard it in domain.
Oh, combo! We did it, guys.
But only in domain because there's some edge cases where like the golds have already run out. And
dang it!
You can't gain anymore.
Sorry. We were so close.
Do you think anybody's caught that I've made the domain pun like 4 or 5 times now?
I have caught it.
Great.
Just want you to know I'm here for you, man.
Yeah. We're catching it. Yeah. We love it.
Great. I can tell from your reactions that it's extremely funny.
Yeah.
I'll try to laugh more next time.
No, please don't. I don't want your pity laughs.
I like them when I make bad jokes, but I guess Wandering Winter doesn't need them. That's why Danica and I are friends. She laughs at all my jokes, even if they're not funny.
Anyway, I'm sure I will love Marchland. I just shed a tear for Silk Road because it did not need to. We could have had both of these cards and it would have been great.
Yes, I think having both of the cards would have been just fine. And I think that, like, is this so appreciably better than Silk Road that it justified jumping through all these hoops? Or would we all have just been better off? And yes, better off if we had just not touched Silk Road and just left it there. I don't see this. This seems like 1 step forward and 2 steps back. That's how I feel about it.
Anyway, I gave this card a score out of score. What did I give it? 7.
I gave it a 5.
Okay, y'all. I like this card, and I did not like Silk Road.
Danica, if you ever doubted that you had your place on this podcast, I love this. Let's hear it.
Give me more.
I mean, clearly the way that y'all have played Silk Road has worked, and I can't dispute
Oh, no, I
that.
didn't say it worked. I just said I had fun with it.
I feel like I've seen Adam win a lot with Silk Road, right?
I mean, I do win a lot of games. So.
You win a lot.
Like 55% of the time.
The wins involve Silk Road sometimes. Yeah, I know that I probably just need to learn the proper way to use Silk Road. To me, it seems junky. Like it's going to gunk up my deck.
You really need some synergy. You really need like gainers.
Yeah.
Like some workshops or something.
Right. So I have not played a game with Silk Road where I have felt I have found that synergy. So I've either avoided it or tried it and it hasn't worked out well for me.
Mm-hmm. And now you never will because it's gone.
Yeah, I don't have to deal with it again.
Whereas I've played a lot of games where it was like Silk Road, I cannot resist. I'm going to try to claw and scratch every way I can to try to get to win this game, and so I will only lose by a little bit. And that was so much fun.
We both like fun, but we find different things fun, different cards fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Marchland, I like that the ratio is better for the normal
That's
part of
nice.
it. And then the gaining ability, or the ability,
Yeah.
extra ability you get when you gain it, I love. And I didn't realize how much I would love it. But then playing with it, I was using it a lot. And I love that towards the end of the game, if your deck is more full of victory cards and let's say more full of like estates and duchies because you're trying to play on that ability. I love that with the when you gain it, you discard and you get money. Like that's not a waste. That's space that's taking up. So I found myself using that a lot when I played with it. I mean, I won't say that like all my points, the game or games I'm thinking of came from Marchland, but I found it fun. I found it fun seeing how much points it would get me. Again, if I tracked things, I would know, but I would usually buy it and see how my score would increase and be happy. And
we
then,
all do that.
Thank you. And yeah, with the ability to have it discard cards that didn't help you in the action or treasure phase or buy phase, and then get some money from that, I think is wonderful. So I ranked this an 8.
Yeah, and I think all of those things are... You're not wrong about any of that. These are nice little things that Marchland does, especially in terms of power level. Just the whole, like, doesn't cost to buy thing. I think that matters quite a bit.
Yeah.
And, effectively costs less if you have dead cards in your hand. The whole secret chamber effect.
I would also not recommend trying to have all of your points come from Marchland because
That's rough.
you will have only at most 16 points at the end of the game.
Come on, keep an estate.
Oh, well,
please.
yeah, not literally all from Marchland.
Keep the overgrown estate. It's worth it.
Yeah, that's worth what? That's worth
8
points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to matter. So I had another slide in this thing, and it's not here, but
right. I noticed that a little while ago.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it, but there were 3 cards that were removed but didn't have direct replacements, and we had talked about the cards that are there now, but it is worth mentioning there are 3 cards that were removed. The cards are Fortune Teller, Horse Traders, and Masterpiece. Fortune Teller was also like second on the list right after Harvest of the cards that we all knew were getting the axe. Fortune Teller is kind of a meme, and like this is just not worth it. The attack.
It's the example of a card that people give when it's a card that's bad.
Yeah, like it's just not as good as silver in almost every case.
Now that they got rid of the old examples for that,
I wonder what
like Scout.
Yeah. And so Donovex did mention that kind of Relic is the fixed version of that, and I would say I agree. The attack
I would say I don't agree, but that's fine.
In terms of game design, I mean, or
I
making
understand,
that attack
I understand
matter.
what he's saying, but like...
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to rework Fortune Teller, it's probably going to look too similar to Relic to say, oh, this is a direct rework, and okay, so yeah, make a different card. And I think that makes some amount of sense.
Fine.
But I don't think anyone's going to miss Fortune Teller.
I guess I would just say, like, it doesn't need to be a
we can still make memes about it, even though it's no longer Dominion canon.
I mean, we never talk about Scout anymore because it's not, it's not like we've talked about Scout in the last
I sleep with
hour.
my Scout body pillow every night. It is right there in between me and my wife. Anyway,
Adam, what you want to do with your wife in your marital bed is not
my Scout body
that
pillow.
To...
Yeah, yeah. Then Masterpiece. I don't know. I thought I like narrow cards. I mean, if you got to remove something, I guess Masterpiece is sort of the one that's gonna get it.
No, that's wrong. The answer is Young Witch, Adam, which has not been removed, and I would have rather seen go than Masterpiece. But I understand, like, I was not holding my breath. Oh, they're going to keep Masterpiece. Like, I knew it was probably going to be gone. I'm not, like, broken up about it. I am probably one of the biggest Masterpiece stans.
I mean, Fathom and Guildhall
is
are
fine.
crying into their scout
Yeah.
body pillows right now. Like, and they don't deserve this. Like, they deserve.
Guildhall less than 3 masterpiece.
Right. I mean, that was tier 2 combo status. Guildhall Masterpiece. That's like insanely powerful. So like
Less than 3,
less
Adam.
than 55. Yeah. So and I just kind of liked that it was narrow, and I think a lot of people were underestimating it. I think just people underestimate Silver Floods or Silver as a card, and I think it was getting a bad rap. With that
it
said,
wasn't a good card.
Yeah, with that said, I still think it wasn't that great, but I think it had its place. And cutting narrow cards with unique effects, unique in quotation marks for Masterpiece. I don't know. I'm a little bit sad to see that, but not as much as I was for Coppersmith or Counting House.
Like, if they would have cut Beggar, it would have been like,
Hey, there's a Dark Ages 2nd edition coming up.
oh my gosh, they're going to cut Beggar, aren't they?
I maybe
I wouldn't be
knew at one
surprised
point.
if
I
they
have
do.
no idea right now.
Like, Beggar is so much fun. Again, it's
I
not good.
The game is better because it has Beggar.
Like, there's sideways things you can do with Beggar that are
Yes.
really fun.
Yes. Dominion needs that.
Yeah. I don't want it to be, every game I get thin and then I draw my deck and then I add payload in an efficient way and then I score and win the game. Every game.
Yeah. Definitely agree. Beggar Gardens.
Beggar Triumph. Beggar Guildhall.
So good. Yes, Beggar Guildhall, tier 2 combo status.
Random beggars in other places. Like, it comes up.
Yeah, that Beggar Priest Design Kingdom I did for one of my tournaments, where you felt the effect of Beggar as draw.
Sometimes you need net gains.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need things to trash for your tomb.
Sometimes you have $2 and you want to put a terminal gold in your deck when it's close to the end of the game.
Yes.
The other card that was removed is Horse Traders. And
sometimes you remember that Beggar has a reaction.
Oh, that never happens. Horse Traders. I understand Horse Traders is a card that has its applications. It's one of those 4-cost cards you open with when you really want to hit 5, because that'll get you there, right? And good riddance. Get out of my face, Horse Traders. That reaction is some of the most inelegant crap I've ever seen on a Dominion card. Get out of here.
I love Horse Traders. And I love it for the reaction. Because, like, most of the reactions are just, like, a different way to be a moat against, like, some attacks and not all of them. Right?
Yeah, why do we need that?
But Horse Traders could, like, actually give you an advantage.
That's never happened.
Oh, it's total. Well, I mean, so the example I was going to give has never happened because it involves Fortune Teller, where it's like your
Nice.
opponent has a Fortune Teller, and I've trashed all my estates, so the Fortune Teller attack ain't doing anything, right? But they have a Fortune Teller, and unlucky for you, even though it has no attack effect, it has the attack type. So I'm getting some extra cards when you play it, thanks to Horse. Now, like, that's never happened. Like with Minion, it's happened. The on play effect without the other thing. Like, there are more and more discard synergies. You got Village Green. You've got, okay, not really Tunnel because that's a terrible strategy, but you got Village Green. You've got Trail. You've got Draw to X stuff, right?
Oh,
You've
God.
got Cursed Village.
I'm out.
You love Draw to X famously.
You were on that episode with me and crapped all over it just like I did.
Oh, I also hate Draw to X. What am I talking about? But Horse Traders was one of the cards that could actually make it work. And I like things that don't work very often, but do work very occasionally.
Okay, I'm genuinely
And it's
happy
gone now. And then there's also a plus buy card. And yeah, we have Farrier now, but like Farrier's not a plus buy card that you have to work for like Horse Traders. And there was Horse Traders Duke, the synergy that no one sees as a synergy that I love so much and has gotten progressively worse and worse over time. But like,
it's like Stables Crossroads. No.
Stables Crossroads is like peanut butter and chocolate.
No, it's not.
Except I actually
It's
don't
like a
like peanut butter and chocolate
It's like a
nearly
sun
as
butter
much as
cup
I
and
like
peppermint, which is what my daughter had today,
Stables Crossroads.
back to back. Yeah, that girl needed a palate cleanser.
Danica, how do you feel about Stables Crossroads?
I'm thinking of Crossroads. I know that I like it. Remind me what Stables is.
It's It's a 5-cost action, gives you +1
Yeah.
action. You discard a treasure from your hand. If you do, you get +3 cards.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I really like that one. Yeah. But
They
it seems
go
like we're
together.
discussing them together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I
So
don't know that I've
you just shove a bunch
done
of
it.
Stables and Crossroads into your starting deck, and you like draw a whole
If you
bunch.
play you play all your stables, and then you'd run out of treasures, and so you wouldn't be able to play more stables. But then once you've run out of treasures, your hand is full of green cards. So then you play Crossroads, and it draws a bunch of cards.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that. I also was a fan of Horse Traders, and I also liked the React effect, which, yeah, I don't have memories of like me reacting being like outstanding for me, but I like the
Yeah, it's 'cause it
concept of
never
it, that when
happened.
someone is attacking you, it can end up helping you a little bit. I love that.
So listeners and video listeners, who is your favorite co-host, and why is it Danica?
Well, it's not me because y'all are tired of me. I'm tired of
Oh,
myself,
I
so I
thought you were
get
going to
it.
say it's not you because you're just the host and therefore not a co-host.
No,
He's not in the running. That's the only reason.
no, I don't. This is no. I reject that. This is not Adam's podcast.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Okay.
Wow.
I've never seen this as Adam's podcast, but
I
a lot
don't
of people
really
do,
either. But
and
you are
well
like
done.
the core. See, I would refer to you as a
I
co-host because you are not
publish-
the main host.
I publish and edit the podcast, and for those technical, logistical reasons, when
Yeah.
I die, the podcast is over. I'm working on preventing that for as long as possible. Hasn't been going great recently, but it's fine. Anyway,
And Adam, you brought me and Wandering Winder together, and that's great.
Dominion brings people together.
Adam brings people together.
Dominion
Also-
speaks through me. Wow, I just sounded really full of myself, didn't I?
No.
No.
Okay, both of you are just being nice.
No.
Leave a comment
I
in the
never did
comment
that.
section. I want to know what you
Leave a
think.
comment in the
listener.
comment section telling me how nice I'm being.
Yes, please do that, dear listener. To all the people that listen to this podcast, I really appreciate that. A lot of people have reached out to me. I mean, if you follow me on Facebook, you know what's going on with my health. A lot of people who reached out to me who just listen to the podcast because, my Facebook is available and is public. And like, I just met a lot of really good people through Dominion and through this podcast in particular. If you're listening to this podcast, thank you for doing that. We might still make it if we knew no one listened, but the fact that you do, that really helps. It brings joy to my life. At a point in time, it brought joy to Jake's life, I think. I won't speak for these two, but I don't know. Maybe you don't hate that?
Oh, this is our turn?
Okay. maybe Danica hates it, or maybe wondering. I don't know.
What? No.
Well, I
This
guess
is my
not
first
hating?
podcast. I do not
Podcast?
know.
I don't hate the podcast. What are we not hating? I'm sorry.
people that listen to the podcast.
Oh,
Adam just
no, they're
wasn't
the
clear
worst.
that it was our
Wear
turn to
your
talk.
seatbelt. Drink
Oh.
a lot of water.
Yes.
Please, drink a lot of water.
Wear your seatbelt.
You need water to live.
No, I was going to say that I felt fine saying to leave a comment in the comment section because from the comment sections that I read, they're telling me how nice I am from the comment section I read. They'll never do that because, it's a comment section.
It happens every once in a while.
No, the comment sections aren't as bad as people say, but they're also not as good as they could be.
Well, that
But I'm
really
sure
narrows it down.
our
man.
lovely
Thanks.
listeners to this podcast are different.
Well, they definitely are. There's like not any toxicity, and if there was, I would just delete it. Easy to do. I don't
No,
have that many views or
I have in
subscribers,
mind
so.
there have been people complaining on my YouTube channel that I'm not doing videos anymore, and when am I going to do videos again, and
Oh,
when am I coming back, and
they email me and message me on Facebook, and they're nice about it.
Okay, yeah, about the podcast or about
the podcast, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because like if I wanted to be big ego, I could have assumed that you meant that about my videos that they're messaging you.
They definitely are, Wandering Winder.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
I've gotten 4 messages while we're recording. I got to respond to all of them with a phishing link. So anyway, appreciate you listening to the podcast.
Wait, you're gonna respond with a phishing link?
You heard me. So thank you for listening to the podcast. Appreciate that. I do not know when or if there's going to be another episode.
And you'll see Adam at the sporting goods store getting some bait and some fishing line, and
that's definitely what I was talking about. I don't know when or if there's going to be content or who's going to be able to join me or if I'll even be there. I don't know. I get hit by a bus tomorrow, and maybe this won't even get
hit by a bus tomorrow. It's extremely unlikely because I shouldn't be in an area of town that buses run, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be nice outside tomorrow, and there's school buses that go through my neighborhood, so
I do live pretty close to a school.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Be careful.
I could be hit by a bus tomorrow.
Don't leave the house under any circumstances.
Well,
it's dangerous out there.
Probably go vote tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Some people have to vote tomorrow. I don't think we do, but I had to vote like 2 other frickin' times. Anyway, thanks for listening to the podcast. Really appreciate that, and maybe we'll be back. Leave a comment in the comments section. We'd like to hear from you. These takes are screaming hot, so, let us know what you think. Yeah.
Thank you both for having me. This was really fun. My first time. Hopefully there'll be more.
Yeah.
Agree. It was really fun having you, and it was really fun doing this again.
Yeah. A lot of things just can't. Edge cases just spew from you like a vomit.
Like an edge case machine volcano. What?
Yeah, like a projectile vomit.
Oh, I was gonna come to vomiting next.
Sorry, vomiting is usually the first place I go when I think about Dominion. Because of the visual update on Dominion.games, that makes me nauseous.
Was there a visual update?
Yeah, in early 2022, they made an update for one of the content patches that changed all the visuals and made me nauseous.
Oh.
Whenever I played it.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, it was horrible. And I'm never subscribing to Dominion.games again because of it. Because now there's a viable alternative. So
cool.
Thanks for listening.
So the kingdom for next time is. All right. Did we leave an episode at some point with a kingdom?
We actually did. We actually did. We have one.
Now, how many cards of that have been deprecated?
I don't want to think about it.
I'm not a professional podcaster like y'all. So.
I am actually a professional podcaster.
You got paid?
Yeah, we got YouTube ad revenue for like 2 months.
Ooh,
before they moved the goalposts. And Jake is too, because I cut him in on half of the ad revenue. Danica, would you like to take a guess as how much that cut was?
Was it a third of all the ad revenue, or
if I remember? No, it was half because I wasn't on the podcast at that point.
Okay.
Also,
so
I'm pretty sure I know how much you gave Jake, and I'm pretty sure it was more than half, actually.
I rounded it up. I was being generous.
Okay. Yeah. North or south of $25?
Oh.
Okay, north or south of $2?
South.
Okay, north or south of 60 cents?
You're getting real warm, sister.
52 cents.
Oh, come on.
Come on, you know Adam.
Oh, 55?
There
55?
you go. I gave him 55 cents.
That's why you rounded up. You wanted to give him that much.
Yes. So I'm a professional podcaster, and Jake is too. And all we need to do is get my channel back up to 1,000 subs. Well,
Subscribers.
not back up to.
No,
we were
sandwiches.
never there. Did you know that this
Thank
is a
you,
sandwich
Xander.
podcast, Danica?
Oh, I didn't even mean that. That is so good.
You meant it.